everybody. Welcome to another episode of Coming Up Milhouse, where we fast forwarded and watched one of the newer episodes. We haven't really been doing any of that, so we watched season 33, an episode called Mothers and Other Strangers, which is episode 715 in the series.
Wow.
So the 715th episode, randomly selected to watch. It's available on Hulu and other streaming platforms, so feel free to give it a watch and share your favorite lines, comments, and scenes below. So,
what I like about this one is, even though we picked it at random, it does harken back to a classic Simpsons episode all about Homer's mom and how she had to go running on the lam because she had germ warfare with burns and that whole thing. This almost feels like a sequel to that.
it did.
And we picked it at random, but it really kind of had that older episode flair that I think a lot of the newer ones kind of don't
They
have.
missed, right.
So I was pleasantly surprised. I enjoyed this one a lot. So, of course, it goes back to Homer's mom, Mona, and we get to kind of check in with her, but it's more of a backstory of Homer coping with her loss when he was little.
That's right. Misery piled on misery. A 7-layer dip of woe. And that's how I met your mother.
But it does some great things because it's Mother's Day at the beginning, it's the present day, and he starts thinking about his mom, and he gets depressed and has to go into therapy, but it's therapy on a cell phone, and there's a lot of great jokes with that. But it does bring out like the story of him coping when she actually left, which is a story that wasn't part of that original one. I thought that was pretty cool. So that's about basic idea here. So why don't we do our normal thing and do some lines? What's your line?
Right, my first line. And Mom, although I believe Mother's Day is a BS holiday, unlike other holidays like my half birthday or May the 4th be with you, I too made you a mug. And that was Bart.
Yeah, because Lisa had made all these nice mugs, and there was a
There
drawer
was a
full
Lisa
of them.
Mug drawer.
Yeah, because Marge was sick of it, and then
Yes.
Bart's mug looked terrible.
Bart's mug had holes all through it.
And then
There
she
was no
slams it in
way,
the drawer, and it
broke.
breaks. And,
Right,
yeah.
so she had drawers for all of the mugs she's
Right.
received
Lisa's
over
mugs,
the years.
Bart's mugs, and Bart's mugs
Labeled
were
nicely.
junky.
And so, even though he doesn't think Mother's Day is a real holiday,
Not like May the 4th be with you.
right? I mean, I can't argue. I celebrate that one, so it's a real holiday.
Yep.
It's also in May. Anyway, that was line number 1. What about you?
Well, Grandpa figures a lot into this episode, as you can expect. His character is important to this kind of story. But there's a war flashback. Grandpa's in the war, and he's with this guy, Charlie, and they're both like in a foxhole or something.
Yes.
And you can tell they just had a battle, and Charlie looks like he's wounded. And the first line is from Charlie, and he's like, "Abe, I got a funny feeling I ain't gonna make it." And then young Grandpa says, "That's crazy talk. Did you always not have a bottom half?" And we don't see that part, but
I know. Oh boy. Oh, Abe.
Abe.
Abe and Charlie in the hole.
No. Yep.
Yes.
All right, what do you got for 2?
Number 2. And remember, if you get him to cry, you get a turn in the cash tornado. And that was part of the Nuts app.
The Nuts app.
Where Homer gets a therapy session, and the therapists are in the office trying to decide who's going to get what case. And that was their motivational speech from the boss was, if you get them to cry, you get a chance in the cash tornado, and it segued over to somebody in the cash tornado trying to catch the cash. And what a miserable job.
Yep.
99-cent therapy, though. available on the Nuts app.
Yeah. And who knows? Maybe it'll work.
There are apps out there.
Yeah.
It's true. What about your second?
My second line was your first line.
Nice.
So we are on the same
So we're on the same.
pathway on that, and so I didn't do
You didn't
backup.
write down okay, so
No.
then here you can use this backup line right here.
All right, it says, newborns don't moon people. Thank you. So when Bart's born, he's got his little butt sticking out of the swaddling clothes there. And I think Bart was mooning.
Yes, he giggled a little bit,
Yeah.
but Homer said, baby's mooning me. And Marge said, nope,
Nope, but I think Homer was right on
it's
that.
true.
Yeah.
Little
Cool.
devious Bart. What about your favorite scene?
So my scene has to do with a teenage Homer has learned how to drive, but he crashes his car, and out comes a young Hans Moleman
Yes.
that was driving with Homer.
Yes.
And I'm like, young Hans Moleman
With hair.
with hair. And then they run into Wiggum, who was just hired on
It's
the,
just brand
the
new
force.
first day, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But Wiggum doesn't bust him because he gets distracted by Lard Lad donuts.
Yep.
So
A
that,
donut? What's that?
What's that? And he goes in, and the rest is history. So that whole part was amazing.
boy.
I like it. So that's my scene. What's yours?
Oh boy, it was tough because I wrote 3 down, but 2 of them are better than the third, and I'll just mention the third later. So I'm gonna go with at the end of the episode, they decide Marge really, everybody's saying what a great Mother's Day, but Marge really has not had a great Mother's Day at all, and so they decide to take her to the Gilded Truffle, which is the fanciest restaurant in Springfield, and they're dressed up and they're sitting down to eat. And, Homer comes back from the kitchen with a plate full of lobster and every rich food and dessert that he wants, and the pimply-faced kid is a waiter there, and he says, "Sir, it's not a buffet," and then Homer says, "When I say brunch, I mean brunch." And so he walks back from the kitchen because he'd gone in and just picked things off of everybody else's orders, I'm sure. So that was my
He turned it
favorite
into his own brunch,
Yes.
didn't he? His own buffet.
His own buffet.
I like that was
Leave
great.
it to Homer. Oh my goodness.
All right.
What about your winner?
My winner is Santa's Little Helper's mother. And first of all, because her name was She Biscuit.
Yes.
And secondly, because she got to spend some time with her son watching Mutt Flicks. And she seemed to be pretty happy about all that.
That's true.
And who knew Santa's Little Helper had a mother that could come around? I know there were episodes in
Right.
the past about her, but,
Yeah, but
I
I
don't
didn't know
remember
that
much
they-
about that.
Right.
But
I know that they met or reconnected at some
some
point in one
point,
of the
yeah,
episodes,
a
but
while
we
back.
haven't
So
seen, that I know of, we haven't seen Santa's Little Helper's mother.
no,
We haven't really been catching up on the
on the
latest
newer stuff. Yeah.
episodes yet,
Yeah. But
still.
that was my winner.
That's good. I also wrote that
I
down.
can
So
tell from your look that you found it.
I will backtrack and go with one of my favorite scenes,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna go with the FBI as winners in this episode because their tomfoolery hidden vans were successful for all these years. They, their FBI vans said things like "flowers by Irene" with FBI very large print, and I don't know, falafels before something, or
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't remember mine writing
But-
down, but they
No,
had
I didn't either.
every time you saw the van, it had a
It had a
different
different
acronym for FBI.
FBI. But it
Yeah.
was the same black FBI van with the satellite dish on the top, and very obvious that it was the FBI, but I'm going to go with them because they were quite clever with their disguises.
They made it work.
Yes.
Put it that way.
Yeah.
They were incognito, even
Yeah.
though they had their term FBI on everything.
So watch the episodes and catch those
Yeah,
glimpses of the
Just
van.
read
just
them
for
every
the-
time you see the van. It's something different. It's great.
Pretty silly. What about your loser?
Mine is all of Homer's therapists on that app. Because the first one gets fired right away
Right.
because he's not very good.
He's not.
And then the second one is better.
Yeah.
And she solves his problems and gets fired. So you can't really win in that, employment if
No.
you're a therapist employed with that app. If you're good, you get fired. If you're bad, you get fired.
So, right, his first therapist was a 99-cent deal.
Yeah.
And his therapist was putting the blame on Homer, and then Homer was like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. And then the app pops up with, you've been upgraded.
So the $2.99
Please
version.
pay, yes, $2.99. Click to accept, and then
Yeah. But none of them therapists seem to
Nope.
get a good shake. I mean, they're working for an app that charges 99 cents.
and neither of them made Homer cry, so they didn't get a chance to go into the money tornado.
Ah,
So
circles
there's,
back to
yep,
that.
there
you
was a loser edition.
go.
So since you went with that one, I'm gonna go with Chief Wiggum because he met donuts. He might have been a better cop over the 33-year span of The Simpsons if he hadn't been introduced to donuts.
Mhm.
But we'll never know.
No. Yeah. He put on a few pounds after that part of
Immediately.
his
Like in that
his life.
scene, his shirt buttons were popping
Yeah, they
off.
did. He just automatically gained weight going. Oh boy. Well, that was a good one. I definitely can see it. Yep, good ones all around.
Yep, it was a good episode.
Mhm.
Again, this was from season 33. It's called Mothers and Other Strangers. It's about halfway through this
This current season. Yep.
So give it a watch.
Mhm.
Please share your feedback in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't done that. We appreciate all the subscribers that we have out there, and we look forward to hearing from you.
That's right. We really appreciate it, and we'll be coming back at you real soon. Until then, Jiminy Chillikers!
Fix my brain. Nature of grief, loss of mother. Age of loss, 9 years old. Are you a robot? I wish.